Okay, so today's a good day for me to use the YouTube channel that I've had since I think it was 2009. I had the YouTube channel since 2009. Never really used it for anything, but I'm gonna start uploading to it. And the thing that's on my mind this morning is, and it's a beautiful morning. I'm out here in Oregon, Hillsboro, Oregon. I'm at the library out here. I just dropped the wife and the son off into the library. I'm not gonna go in with them. I got some work I gotta do. But while I gotta do some work and catch up on a few things, and it's such a beautiful setting. Let me see if I can show you guys. You got your beautiful trees, and it's gorgeous out here, man. And that's the library right there. And if you go all the way around over there, back over that way, there is like all the way over there, back there, there's a lake. Looks really nice, beautiful, and there themselves. Yeah, it's a beautiful lake back there. It's a pond, actually, a nice little pond. A lot of duck skis, beautiful little walkway. You can walk around, go through the back of the library, and you could also just jog around that path. But really nice area, really nice, beautiful. I mean, I've seen a lot of pretty libraries before. You see pretty libraries, tucked cozily, in the city, New York City, in the middle of the block somewhere. Some of them got like Starbucks inside of them and things like that. But for me particularly, this one is really, really nice because of the nature that surrounds it. And this video that I got right now, it doesn't do it any real justice. Like, you can't really see the fullness of the beauty. You can't really see the fullness of it because like, I would have to get out and walk you guys around it so you can see. And I might do that. But one of the things I want to focus on was about law school and about pursuing the license. And it's definitely something that's on my mind. First thing I want to say is, I hear a lot of people say things like, and this is true, like, I'm not just saying this, like, anybody that went to law school, you're in the legal field, you work with people in the legal field, or attorneys or whatever, in-house counsel, whatever you want to call it, you always find that there's a certain type of people or a group of people who would say things like, oh, don't go to law school or something like that, right? And my thing is this, the people who are saying that, don't go to law school and stuff like that, it's the people who's already been to law school, right? The people that's saying that is not the people. You would think that a person that would say that, don't go to law school, excuse me, that it would be a person who wasn't successful in law school. They went, they failed out, or got kicked out, or whatever the case may be. Academic probation, who knows? Or you wouldn't think that it would be a person who actually went to law school, graduated from law school, successfully completing it, right? Even if they struggled on their way going through it, or whatever the case may be, they still was able to go through it, graduated. And on top of that, got a good job in the legal field, passed the bar, got their license. You wouldn't think that it would be that type of person that would say, don't go to law school. And the reason why is because if they went to law school and they're successful, meaning successful in the sense that they went, got the JD, Juris Doctor, got a good job or a decent job, and on top of that, passed the bar, you wouldn't think that they would say that. But even for the people who don't pass the bar, You know, the JD, that's a doctorate. That's equivalent to a doctorate, you know. And it's the same thing as a doctor technically, you know. You know, they get great jobs too. You know, when I had my JD, just the JD, didn't pass the bar or anything like that, you know, I actually had a great job. You know, I had a couple of great jobs, paying very well, you know. So you would think that they wouldn't even say that themselves, right? But it amazes me that the people who pass, do well, good job, they will tell someone else, oh, don't even go to law school. Don't even waste your time. Oh, and it seems like that's a trending thing that people say. And I don't know if it's amongst a certain group of people, or culturally or something like that. Because you got to remember, everybody has certain cultural trends, right? You know, like, you know, I can look and say, you know, amongst black people, we may say, all right? And for me, that's a New York thing. Started way back in the, you know, early 90s, late 80s, but early 90s. You know, Nasty Nas was one of the first one, you know, and it wasn't that he made the phrase, it's just that people in New York always talk with a little bit of a, you know, twist on their words, you know. They'll stress the word, the ending of it, you know, instead of saying all right, they will say, all right, you know, and, you know, it became a thing. Rappers hear it, they in the streets, in the hood, just like anybody else, and then they take the word, they put it in a song, and if they blow up, they become famously known for saying this particular thing, and then it gets, you know, known throughout, you know, the different, you know, social arenas in the world, you know. And what am I saying? That it could be that there is a culture of people who just like to say, oh, don't go to law school. Oh, man, don't go to law school. But I can tell you, I don't find where it's black people that say that, you know. I don't find that, you know. I don't find where there's a lot of cultures that say that. Now, don't get me wrong. Culturally, it's not a lot of people in America that go to law school from what we know is the minority groups, right? Like, for instance, people from India, you know, people from Africa, people from Bosnia, different places. Like, you don't find where a lot of people, you know, who can't really register themselves as white, right? Or they choose not to register themselves as white, you know, white American or whatever. You know, they don't really, you know, go to, you know, they're not heavily, you know, in the law school system, you know. Statistics show that, you know, there's only like 5% of the population of lawyers are black. It used to be 3% of the population of lawyers, people who are attorneys, you know, Spanish or you know, the term Latino or whatever. You know, it's now 5, I believe, you know, and rising. But that's still like 10%, you know. And then all the rest is supposed to be, you know, what we call white, you know. And so it's not like there's a whole lot of people. You got 3% that might be Asian, I think it is, and then 2% of some of everything else, right? So my point is, it's not like a whole ton of attorneys that's minorities that's in the legal field, or that's, you know. And the last time I checked the statistics, which was a little while ago, you know, not a little while, but, you know, when I say little while, it's slang in New York for a long time ago. You know, I know, but yeah, it was like maybe 1.4 or 1.6 million attorneys, you know, in the United States of America. You have to think about that, because America, you know, the census is not correct, first of all. When they take the census every year, everyone doesn't get counted into the census. You got a lot of homeless people don't get counted in the census because they don't have an address. There's a lot of people who just don't fill it out because they're not interested in it. They don't care about it. You know, it's not disseminated properly, so you don't get an accurate count. So, you know, they might say it's like 380 million people in America, when really it's close to probably 450, 500 million people in America. It just can't count everybody. There's lots of millions that don't get counted in the census, you know. But I known when I was young and it was counting during the census, when people used to get involved and give it to the children in school, they take it, you know, and everybody was interested in filling it out before, you know, phones and all this other stuff was, you know, the predominant thing, you know, and everybody did things hand in hand or by rotary phone, and, you know, word of mouth, it was treated rather importantly, you know. And I remember the numbers being like 320 million, 360 million, and you're talking about back in the 80s, you know. Now we're in the 2000s, and you guys are still coming up with the same number. What are you telling me? Everybody's expatriating, you know, to another country, you know? No, it's not. It's not. You know, if anything, more people have come into America than anything, you know? But getting off point and getting sidetracked, not necessarily, but my point is, don't let nobody tell you, you know, oh, it's a waste, don't go to law school. The same people that's telling you it's a waste, don't go to law school, those same people that tell you that, they're telling you that while they're sitting there with the job, getting paid really good, having enough freedom in their life to control their own destiny, to control their day, you know, to make their own schedules, you know, to switch things around. And if they don't like the area of practice that they're in, they're free to go and start into a whole nother practice, you know. Now, some of them may pretend like it's so hard to get out of one practice and go to another, or they're so comfortable with the practice they're in, or they're so closed-minded. You know, I graduated law school and I always wanted to practice criminal law, and criminal law is just driving me crazy and nuts. It's not like going to, oh, woe is me. What else can I do? And like there's nothing else to do. Like they can't go and become a patent attorney, or you know, they can't go and become, you know, an immigration attorney. It's just nonsense, you know. You can go and switch up into any field of law, you know, and do what you got to do. So I don't see what the complaint is. But you don't listen to nobody who would tell you, while being successful, or what you will call success, or I will call success. Why? Because if I don't got a good job, if I'm working at, let's just say hypothetically, McDonald's, which I've worked there before, you know, if I'm working at McDonald's and I'm making $15 an hour, right? You're an attorney, right? You're making $250 an hour, or $350 an hour, or $400 an hour, or $600 an hour, or $700 an hour. And I'm just telling you from, you know, what I know attorneys to make, you know, or $1,000 an hour, or $1,500 like in New York, you know. Like, if you're an attorney and you're making this kind of money, right? $250 an hour is a whole lot more than $15 an hour. So from the people's perspective who make $15 an hour, they're looking at it saying, yo, you're doing really good. You're doing really well. What's the complaint? If it's that you're taking on more cases than you can handle, that's you. You burning yourself out. If you say, well, law school come with a huge amount of debt, you know, and you gotta pay off. Hey, listen, success is never easy, right? Success is never something that's gonna come without a tab, without a bill to it or something, you know? That's just the way it is. But you are able to make as much money as you want to make, especially as time goes on, the amount of money you make will increase, you know? So if that's the case, why would you let someone who's already in a position, you know, got 401k, got money stacked galore, bringing in money like crazy, buy the car they want, got the house they want, live where they want, you know, could take the nice vacations, why are you going to let them tell you, don't go to law school? You sitting here looking pretty. When I say looking pretty, I mean slang for you living well, you know. That's what it means from the hood. You know, we say, yo, dude sitting, he looking pretty, dude's sitting pretty, he's sitting pretty, or whatever. You know, if you're sitting pretty, looking good, controlling your own narrative, I mean entirely in the world, you know, at any point in time, you could decide to go and become your own business, right? You know, when I say that, I mean, you don't got to work for nobody. You got a license. You can open up your own practice anytime you want to, you know. Why would I listen to you tell me not to become an attorney? Why would you listen to anyone that would tell you, oh, don't go to law school? Don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. They're sitting right there, having gone through law school, got everything, got the, the job, got the license, whatever, making the money, and they're telling you don't go. Why? And a lot of times they don't even tell you why. And they'll tell you, oh, it's not worth it. What does that mean? What does that mean exactly? It's not worth it. What does that mean? If it's because you end up picking up a bill, because you know law school do cost now a whole lot more now than what it did, back in the days. It's definitely cost a whole lot more. But the investment is worth it. The investment is worth it. Because it depends on how much money you make, how you spend your money, how you're able to save your money. You could pay it off the law school and it won't really be an issue. It just depends on would you pass the bar and get licensed enough that you be able to get a great job. Right? That's all that really matters. There's people out there trying to search to find out about how do I pass the LSAT, so I can get into law school. There's people trying to get past that hurdle. There's people saying I graduated law school and I need to pass the bar, to be able to make the full amount of money that I can make, because without passing the bar, the amount of money I can make is limited. Because, with this particular job, they're only going to allow me to make maybe $100,000 a year, they might only allow me to make $85,000 a year, right? And that's not enough for you to, take care of everything you want to take care of, live the life you want to live, do the things you want to do, because you want to pay off all your debts and stuff, So, you say I need to pass the bar so I can get my license. That way, now I can start bringing in an income of $250,000 a year, and then working your way all the way up until you're making $500,000 a year, and then working your way all the way up until you're making $1 million a year. And it doesn't take long with being an attorney. Depends on how you do your practice, what you do, how you spend your money, how you save your money, how you invest, whatever. You'll be making $1 million, within 5 years, 5 to 6 years of becoming an attorney or sooner. It's just the facts. It's about how much you want to, how hungry is the dog, If the dog hungry, the dog gonna eat. It is what it is. And then of course, how you spend and what you do with your money, So don't listen to nobody that would tell you, don't go to law school. And I can tell you, like, if you ask a person, why shouldn't I go? A lot of times they're not going to be able to tell you why it is that you shouldn't go to law school. They're going to tell you it's not worth it. And at best, they may tell you, about something dealing with finances, right? They may tell you, financially, whatever. But how can you even listen to that? Because you did it. And you sitting here driving the car you want, whatever. And they say, yeah, but I got to pay off my debt. Well, you got to pay off your debts. That's anywhere in life, anywhere in life. Well, I didn't want to incur that much debt. Well, guess what? You incurring that much more money in order to be able to pay off your debt, So if you're able to pay off your debt and you're able to not only just pay off your debt, but also make the same amount of money that you want to make, what is the problem? It shouldn't even be no problem. Shouldn't be no issue, shouldn't be anything. Why? Because you're doing the thing that you want to do, So, as far as I'm concerned, it's a poor excuse. Poor excuse, if someone says, don't go to law school because of the debt. Let's say that the law school is $60,000 a year, right? Let's just say $60,000 a year. And it's $60,000 a year, right? Or let's just say it's $60,000 a semester, right? Let's stick with the $6,000 a year. $60,000 a year, you go on for 3 years, right? So you already at $180,000 that you owe. That $180,000 that you owe is not a problem if you practicing law, because in your 5th year, depends on how you make your money. If you pass the bar, all these different things, you're gonna make that, and everything's gonna be good. That's gonna already be cleaned off. It's gonna already be cleaned off. Now, some people say, "Yeah, but I went to law school and I didn't pass the bar." Well, again, you know, a lot of the people that tell you don't go to law school, it's those people who passed the bar. You dig what I'm saying? They passed the bar, but they're telling you, you know, don't go to law school. It's not the people who didn't go to law school, who didn't pass the bar, that's telling you that. It's usually the ones who passed the bar, got the good job, telling you don't go. And their excuse is a poor excuse. It's because of how you budget your own money. You know, it's because of the job you wanted to take. You know, if you take a job paying you, you know, $135,000 a year, that's you. That's you. I know people that never worked for any other employer after they passed the bar. They went straight into their own practice, you know, and they making great money. You know, they in a 5th and 6th year practice, making great money. In their 10th year, already making millions. You know, that law school debt paid off. If anything, when they don't pay it off, it's because it's beneficial to them. You know, because there's some debt that actually look good to have, you know, as far as creditors and lenders is concerned, you know, and you show you paying on it and things like that, you know, that hefty large amount that was loaned to you, you know, and you paying on it. So it has its benefits too. But that's the only thing I want to just touch on, man. Go to law school. If you're a minority, I'm telling you, go to law school, okay? If you a black person, I'm telling you, go to law school. Don't listen to nobody that will tell you don't go, you know? And definitely don't listen to nobody if culturally, they from a whole different culture than you are. You know? The cultural norm is different for them, you know? The amount of monies that they had coming into this life, into this thing, is different from what you had, you know, growing up, and what your parents was able to provide you with. You know? I'm telling you from personal experience, that's the way out. That's the way out. And we need you. We need you. I already told you the statistics, right? So we need you, you know? Here in the state of Oregon, they have to put people on like waiting lists for them to get an attorney. I'm talking about criminal attorney. If they get arrested for something, they cannot easily get a public defender, an attorney assigned to them to handle their case. They have to wait on a waiting list. In some cases, they're waiting 4 months because it's just not enough attorneys. And it's certainly not enough attorneys who are, you know, public defenders working in the public arena for the public, you know? So, you know, I'm telling you, it's the way out, man. You know, and we really have to reverse the curse. We have to break a lot of trends. And look at the government. Look at the people who went in Congress. A lot of those people went to law school. A lot of people went to law school. And that's how they managed to get there. They went to law school, you know, did some law, you know, built up a name for themselves through, you know, the legal practice. And then, you know, once they got that prominence behind them, they then went in and ran for office in some sort of way, became a judge or ran for office in some sort of way, and was invited to all of the community things because they're an attorney, you know, and they're going to get invited to a lot of, you know, things that deal with legislative situations, because they are people who know the law, you know, vis-a-vis legislation, you know. So I'm just saying, you know, listen, man, you know, Don't let nobody discourage you. You know, go to law school if that's your interest. It is a good thing to do. You know, you won't regret it. You know, you won't be sorry. You know, I encourage you to go to law school. I encourage you, go to law school. Listen, there's an old saying from back in the days, we used to say, get greater later. You know, you will get greater. You know, over time, you will, you know. And just take it from me, man. You know, I'm a minority. I'm speaking for the people who is from the culture that I'm of. You know, I'm from, you know, that I'm actively, you know, constantly living in and going getting my experiences in and my social, you know, whatever you want to call it, you know. And I'm telling you, you know, listen, you know, go to law school if that's your interest. Don't let nobody talk you out of it. Don't nobody scare you because of the debt, you know, that you can incur in chasing down a dream or trying to find a way to, you know, become great in life and break that curse, you know. You know, go to law school, chase it down, you know. There is a way to, you know, get into law school. The LSAT is not the only way to get into law school, okay? They have a lot of new programs that's out right now. Once you get out of law school, I know you would say, "What, man, then I won't really make too much of good money if I don't pass the bar." Well, again, you know, if you're at McDonald's and you're making 85 or you're making 100, I mean, if you're making $15 an hour and then you graduate law school and you're making 85 or 85K or 100 without even passing the bar, then you really still did good. You still did well, either which way. You know, you still did well. But I'll tell you this: if you say, "Well, you know, I won't be able to get the amount of money that I want, or I won't be able to live the life that I really want unless I pass the bar," well, I got news for you. The bar is not the only way to get licensed. Okay? It's not the only way to get licensed. And I'm going to tell you another way, a couple of ways how you get licensed and how you can get licensed really quick, you know, really quick. I'm talking about within like maybe 4 months time, 4 months to 6 months time, you know, and you can get licensed. And not only that, you will already be getting paid at the level of an attorney, you know, with this particular way that they have for you to get your license. You know, you'll be functioning as an attorney and everything, you know. So again, you know, don't let nobody tell you anything different. And I'm going to share those ways, you know, on my Instagram page, or I'm going to share those ways on my Facebook page, or I may even share it, definitely going to share it in my next post, my next YouTube post. You know, you might find that I share it faster on my Instagram, whatever, but it's going to be my next YouTube post, and I'm going to walk you through it. I'm going to tell you about the experience of going through it, because I went through it in myself, you know. So, you know, I'm telling you it's a good thing, and that's just to break the discouragement of what people are saying. And with that said, you know, the one and only, you know, Gregory Robinson, you know, and I'm out.